And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics, and now here's your host, Robert Cardoza. And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to the intersection of business and politics right here on Robert Cardoza Live, where I do an honest, unbiased analysis of the issues confronting you today that affect the decisions that you're going to make for both your personal and your business life. I come to you every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time on Spreaker Radio, 405 Media Radio, Roar 1776 Radio, and Live 365 Radio, MyCast Live Radio, and countless terrestrial stations worldwide. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and YouTube, where you can listen to all of my shows 24/7. Go to my website at www.robertcardozalive.com for archives of all my radio and television shows. You can also access my show live right from my website each day simply by clicking on that little icon labeled Listen Live. Email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. That's where I get all the emails I deal with here on the show. And you can call into my show if you want to comment or just engage me in conversation about anything. My number at the studio is 909-545-6516. Again, that number, 909-545-6516. Now, on today's show, we're going to discuss what's in the news, new legislation, the IRS loses, and I'm going to answer your emails just like I always do. Today, my expert contributor is Sean LaFave. He's going to be talking to me about current events of the day, and then, you know what, on his normal segment, which would be about a half hour after that, he'll be back here talking about healthcare on his series, Geared for Wellness. But right now, I want you to stand by for news. And you know that at 4:02 p.m. Pacific Time, it is currently 88 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's on its way to 61. But you know what? I want to deal with what's in the news. You deserve it. We got lots of it, so let's get to it, huh? All right off the bat, let's talk about, it's kind of a Q&A, what the yuan devaluation means for China and other countries. Well, you know, China rattled global financial markets today by devaluing its currency, an effort in part to revive economic growth. The yuan's value declined 1.9%, its biggest one-day drop in a decade. The move could help Chinese companies by making their products less expensive in global markets. Now, U.S. stocks plummeted, partly on fears about a worsening economic slowdown in China. What exactly did China do? Well, China doesn't let its currency trade freely in financial markets as the United States does. Instead, it links the yuan's value to the U.S. dollar. Then it restricts trading to a banned 2% above or below a daily target set by the People's Bank of China. Now, today, the central bank set the target 1.9% below Monday's level, the biggest one-day change in a decade. It also made a technical change to give market forces more influence in determining the yuan's value. Its daily target will now be based on the previous day's closing value. That change will allow the yuan to make bigger, faster moves up or down and better reflect investors' outlook on the prospects for China and its currency, said David Dollar, senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. So, why did China devalue its currency? The People's Bank of China said it acted because the yuan has been rising even when market forces say that it should be falling. Worried Chinese have been moving money out of the country, putting downward pressure on the yuan. Yet, the yuan has remained up anyway because of the link to the dollar, which has been rising. An overvalued yuan has hurt Chinese exporters by making their products more expensive overseas. In July, Chinese exports plunged 8.3% year over year. China's economy already needed help. The economy is expected to grow less than 7% this year, its lowest rate since 1990, and could decelerate even more next year. The stock market has been in a free fall since June. You know, the problem with that is that that's an artificial control of the value of their currency, but it affects our stock market because it affects the prices of the goods that we bring in and send out here from the United States. And that's why it really creates a real issue for us. So, you know, we just have to be careful. That's what's going on here. Well, next up is Kerry and top Democratic Senator Spar on the Iran deal sanctions. Secretary of State John Kerry sparred today with the lone Democratic senator to publicly oppose last month's historic Iran nuclear deal, saying there was no way the United States could prevent American allies from doing business with Tehran if Congress were to reject the agreement. Speaking across town in New York, Senator Chuck Schumer disagreed and suggested Washington still could force the world into isolating the Iranians until they make deeper nuclear concessions. The dispute goes to the heart of the questions that American lawmakers are considering as they prepare to vote on the nuclear accord. If they were to shelve the deal and override an expected presidential veto, they would severely complicate the Obama administration's ability to honor its commitment to roll back economic sanctions on Iran. In exchange, Iran has agreed to a decade of tough restrictions on Iran's nuclear program and a far more intrusive inspections regime. Republicans are almost universally opposed at this point. Addressing a Reuters newsmaker event in New York, Kerry took aim at those in Congress who say a better deal could still be reached. That argument would entail the U.S. maintaining or increasing pressure on Iran by threatening foreign governments and businesses for trading with Tehran or buying Iranian oil, a strategy that both President Barack Obama and Republicans credit withdrawing Iran into serious nuclear negotiations 2 years ago. Now that the pact has been finalized, Kerry said such a heavy-handed approach was an option no longer. "Are you kidding me?" he asked the crowd. The United States is going to start sanctioning our allies and their banks and their businesses because we walked away from a deal, and we're going to force them to do what we want them to do even though they agreed to the deal we came to? Kerry warned of severe consequences for pursuing such an approach after the agreement has been accepted by Iran and fellow negotiating countries, Britain, China, France, Germany, and Russia, and endorsed by all 15 members of the UN Security Council. You know what? We no longer keep our word, and we now become the aggressor as opposed to what our history has been? This is, what kind of country are we getting to be? Have we lost all the values that we thought were so very important to us? Gosh, it sure seems that way, doesn't it? Well, here's one for you. The latest on Ferguson, a video released of alleged gunman. The latest in the events surrounding the anniversary of the death of 18-year-old Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. St. Louis County Police have released surveillance video footage they say shows Tyrone Harris Jr., the 18-year-old black suspect who was critically wounded after being shot by police Sunday night in Ferguson minutes before he fired a gun at plainclothes officers. Harris was shot late Sunday after allegedly opening fire on an unmarked police van. Police say a 13-second clip of security camera footage from a West Florissant Avenue insurance office that they released today, or this afternoon I should say, shows him grabbing a handgun from his waistband in response to shots being fired during the Ferguson protests. Harris was in critical condition Monday at St. Louis Hospital. County police and Barnes Jewish Hospital were unable to provide updates on his condition on Tuesday. Well, when we come back, I'm going to tell you all about the latest on an athlete's death, and an officer was fired over that shooting. So don't go away. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now from Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And you know what? When we left, we were talking about the news. We're going to get right back to that news right now. You know what? The latest on an athlete's death, officers fired over the shooting. The latest on the fatal shooting by police in Texas of unarmed college football player Christian Taylor is the deal. The police chief in the Dallas suburb of Arlington says an officer who's been fired over the fatal shooting of an unarmed Texas college football player should not have approached the 19-year-old burglary suspect alone. Arlington Police Chief Will Johnson today said he had fired Officer Brad Miller over the shooting of Christian Taylor. Johnson says he's troubled by some of the actions Miller took while responding to a reported burglary at a car dealership early Friday morning. Johnson said Miller shot Taylor when Taylor began to advance toward the officer, but he said there was no physical contact between the officer and Taylor before Taylor was shot. Johnson said it will be up to a grand jury to decide whether Miller should be targeted criminally. Taylor played football for Angelo State University in San Angelo. Security footage from the dealership lot shows Taylor breaking the windshield of a car on the lot before driving his own vehicle into a glass showroom. You know, it just, you know, when does this kind of stuff end? I just don't get it. I just don't get it at all. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting kind of tired of bad news, aren't you? I know I am. Anyway, here's one for you. Navajo president, EPA says spill cleanup could take decades. Townspeople affected by millions of gallons of waste spilled from an abandoned gold mine and now flowing through their communities demanded clarity today about any long-term threats to their water supply. Colorado and New Mexico made disaster declarations for stretches of the Animas and San Juan rivers, and the Navajo Nation declared an emergency as the waste spread more than 100 miles downstream, where it will reach Lake Powell in Utah sometime this week. EPA workers accidentally unleashed an estimated 3 million gallons of orange-yellow waste, including high concentrations of arsenic, lead, and other potentially toxic heavy metals, while inspecting the long-abandoned Gold King mine near Sheridan, Colorado on August the 5th. EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy, who plans to tour the damage personally, said today in Washington, D.C. that she takes full responsibility for the spill, which she said, pains me to no end, she said. The agency is working around the clock to assess the environmental impact. Well, you know what? If she's going to take full responsibility, let her take out her checkbook and let her get this doggone thing fixed. It's easy for all these politicians to say, I take full responsibility. We should be ashamed of ourselves. Well, you know what? Let her get out her checkbook and let's see how ashamed she should be. Absolutely. Well, here we go. UN peacekeepers accused of deaths, rape in African mission. Amnesty International is accusing UN peacekeepers of indiscriminately killing a 16-year-old boy and his father and raping a 12-year-old girl in separate incidents in Central African Republic, the latest in a series of sexual and other allegations against peacekeepers there. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is personally dismayed and disappointed. His spokesman said today he would like to emphasize once more that no misconduct of this nature will be tolerated, Stephanie Dujarric told reporters. The UN, however, has no powers of criminal investigation or prosecution, leaving it up to peacekeepers' home countries, which UN officials often don't name publicly. Amnesty International said the two incidents on August the 2nd and 3rd occurred as the peacekeepers from Rwanda and Cameroon were carrying out an operation in the capital, Bangui. UN peacekeepers have been in the country since September to try and calm unprecedented deadly violence between Christians and Muslims. Well, you know what? If they can't take care of themselves, how on earth are they going to police anybody else? This is ridiculous. This is what they call, you ever heard the term gobbledygook? Yeah, that's what they used to call the language that legislators in Washington, D.C. used to use. That means that, they talk and talk, but they don't say anything. That's exactly what's going on here. Talk and talk and talk, and it means nothing. They get nothing accomplished. Well, this came in 2 hours ago. No bail for a couple accused of trying to join the Islamic State. A young Mississippi couple who are charged with attempting to join the Islamic State were ordered held without bail today, pending federal grand jury action on the charges. 20-year-old Jalen, Delshon Young, and 22-year-old Mohammed Mo Dakohala, who were arrested at a Mississippi airport just before boarding a flight with tickets bound for Istanbul, went before U.S. Magistrate Judge S. Allen Alexander in Oxford today. Alexander denied bail, saying that even though the pair have never been in trouble with the law and have relatives willing to oversee their home confinement, she believed their desire to commit terrorism is probably still there. During the two-day hearing, prosecutors had urged Alexander to deny bail, citing statements Young and Daikala made to undercover statements and handwritten farewell letters they left for their families, saying they would never return. Assistant U.S. Attorney Clay Joyner likened them to Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, saying that, like him, they could commit violence with knives, vehicles, or homemade weapons. They don't need a gun to do harm, Joyner said. They don't need military training to do harm. What they need is a violent extremist ideology, and that's exactly what they have espoused. You know what? Here. I wouldn't give them any bail either. Matter of fact, I don't know when they'd get to court, but I'd be throwing that key away, and they'd have to cut them out of the cell to get them to court. Well, kids with cancer get futuristic chance at saving fertility. Barely 2 years old, Talia Pisano is getting tough treatment for kidney cancer that spread to her brain. She's also getting a chance at having babies of her own someday. To battle infertility sometimes caused by cancer treatment, some children's hospitals are trying a futuristic approach, removing and freezing immature ovary and testes tissue with hopes of being able to put it back when patients reach adulthood and want to start families. No one knows yet if it'll work. It has in adults. More than 30 babies have been born to women who had ovarian tissue removed in adulthood, frozen and put back after treatment for cancer or other serious conditions. In lab animals, it worked with frozen and thawed testes tissue. But the procedures are still experimental in children who haven't reached puberty and too new to have been attempted. There are challenges to making immature eggs and sperm from removed tissue suitable for conception. Still, fertility researchers hope to refine the science that while the first generation of children whose tissue has been put on ice grows up. Now, don't go away, because when we come back, I'm going to talk about the IRS loses. In the first case up, the IRS must repay funds after a refund deadline. Shame on them. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Don't go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful in visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Oh, yeah, here we are. My favorite part of the show, the IRS loses. And you know what? That just sends chills up and down my spine. I can't hardly wait to tell you all about it. So, you know what? Why don't we just get into it right now? It just seems like the proper thing to do when we're talking about the IRS loses. Well, you know what? It's interesting. I got a notice today that the Inspector General is actually investigating the IRS for misuse of credit cards. You know, the credit cards they issue IRS employees when they're traveling and doing things. Apparently, quite a bit of misuse. They haven't talked about what they're going to do about it yet, but you know what? Leave it to the IRS to put the screws to us, and they don't even provide the Vaseline, right? Well, anyway, first case up in the IRS loses is the IRS must repay funds after a refund deadline. Here's the case. An estate held property that was involved in litigation and hard to value. Now, before filing its return or receiving any tax bill, it remitted $165,000 to the IRS to stop penalties and interest from running on any tax that it might have owed. Now, later, it filed a late return showing no tax due, but the IRS said that the deadline for refunding its $165,000 tax payment had passed. The estate said the $165,000 hadn't been a tax payment, but a deposit not subject to the deadline. So they went to court to see if they couldn't get some satisfaction. This is what the judge said. No tax had been calculated at the time of remittance, and the IRS's own rules say that an undesignated remittance made before a tax liability is proposed is a deposit. The estate gets their money back, and they get interest. You got to love this stuff, right? I just love this. How about this? The IRS loses. A wife in a community property state gets credit for all her withholding. Sounds pretty innocent, doesn't it? But listen to this. A couple separated after the 8th month of the year and filed separate returns. The husband had income during the 8 months but paid no tax. Under community property rules, the IRS said that half this income was taxable to the wife, and she was employed and had $38,354 of tax withheld from her pay. But the IRS credited the husband with $12,785 of it, half of the withholding during the 8 months. She protested, went to tax court. This is what the judge said. The wife was properly taxed on her half of her husband's income, but it was inequitable to deny her credit for tax that she had paid and credit it to the husband who had paid none. So she gets the credit for all of her tax payments. Now, you got to just love that. That's just the way it should be, right? Absolutely. How about this? The IRS loses. Improper deductions do not prove fraud. Here's the case. Carlos Sala invested a large amount in what the IRS said was an illegal tax shelter. It sent a tax bill that he paid, but he then sought a refund of $1.5 million of interest that the IRS could collect only in fraud cases. The IRS has said the shelter was fraudulent because the deductions it gave were much larger than any amount Sala ever risked losing on his investment in it. But this is what the judge said. Sala's small risk of loss might make his deductions improper, but fraud requires acts of deceit and concealment from the IRS. Sala had acted openly and even obtained a lawyer's opinion about the shelter's property or propriety before investing in it. So there was no proof of fraud, and the refund absolutely is allowed. Now that, my friends, you just gotta love. Okay, now you've heard me talk about inside the IRS. This is kind of one of those cases where we're talking about not tax laws that have been adjudicated by the courts, but agreements that the IRS has made and precedents that they've set that you can actually use when you're defending yourself against the IRS. So let's talk about this first one, and that is a remedy for collection actions. You know, the IRS has a procedure that allows a taxpayer to contest a number of matters relating to the actions of the collection division. Let me give you a couple of examples. Failure to grant the taxpayer an installment agreement, or not accepting an offer in compromise and enforcing a levy. Now, to contest collection actions, file Form 12153. That's request for a collection due process hearing or equivalent. Now, to have an IRS appeals officer near your side or hear your side of the story. Here's the thing. If you're not satisfied at the appeals office, you can petition the U.S. Tax Court for reconsideration, but there's a trap here. The tax court has no jurisdiction to consider your case unless you can prove that you have raised the issue that you want the court to rule on during your collection due process hearing. So there's a strategy involved. Always, always, always document by sending a letter to the IRS that you asked the appeals office to consider the issues that you raised. That is what you always have to do. You know, just don't miss out on it. Don't mess up on it. Always go that extra route. Let me give you one last one. The Freedom of Information Act permits you to ask the IRS. You can ask them for copies of all documentation in possession relating to your audit examination or collection proceeding. The request is made by addressing a letter to the local disclosure office of the IRS and identifying the documents that you want. Now, a request should be made for all documents in your possession relating to a specific matter. There's some problems here, though. Sometimes disclosure office caseworkers will tell you that the documents that you've requested are not available, even though they really are. The best approach? Speak to a manager and ask him or her to review the case before it appears that, and because it appears that information that you've requested just has been omitted. And so you want to be careful that you do that. And I want to tell you, the IRS is always going to try to get away with something. Just like I told you earlier. You know what? They've been found guilty. They have an investigation against them right now. It was just declared today for improper use of credit cards that you and I pay for. And now they're going to have to answer for them. It's going to be interesting to see how much money is involved. And I can guarantee you it's probably in the millions. Now, do not go away, because when we come back, we're going to be talking to Sean Lefebvre. Now, we may not be talking about the Geared for Wellness corner, and we certainly will be a little bit later, but right off the bat, Sean and I are going to be talking about some current events. Who knows what we might get into? Don't go away. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And you know what? We normally, at this time, would be talking to Suzette Mailer with her IFAB Travel Corner. But instead, we're going to be talking to my good buddy Sean Lefebvre. And you know what? I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. But I'm not going to start him off with his normal introduction. Let's get him in here because it's going to be a magnanimous segment for us. So let's get him. Did you get the ring I sent you, by the way? Because it looks like we're going to start going steady.
I think that'd be a fantastic idea. I like it. I'm still watching the mail for the ring, though.
Yeah, but it's not a diamond ring. It's just a cigar band ring.
Yeah, that works. That's good enough for me. I don't care. I'm easy to please. I'm cheap. Absolutely. I'm excited. I feel like we're not rushed today. Like we got a whole hour, and you know what's going to happen? We're still going to run out of time. It doesn't matter, but I'm excited.
Well, you know what? We are at the very least rushed today.
Yeah.
Right. So you know what? Anything special you want to talk about? I do have something on the tip of my tongue that I want to talk about. It was. I've
got a couple of things that we can touch on for sure. You know, I just kind of current event thing, and I got to tell you about my newest medical condition that I just diagnosed myself with, and I'm pretty excited about it. So we can talk about that because I think you'll
wait a minute. You have a new medical condition that you need to talk about?
I do have a medical condition, and I just recently diagnosed myself with this, and I'm going to confess it right here on the Robert Cardoza live show for everyone to hear that the health expert guy has a actual real medical condition.
It's not referred to as asthenia, is it?
No. I'm pretty sure I don't want that one.
That's what happens to guys that sit at a desk too long.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not that. That would be much worse, actually. You know that sitting is the number one indicator for most chronic health conditions these days. That the amount of time that you sit is directly correlated with your risk for heart disease and stroke and diabetes and obesity and on and on and on. That sitting is one of the worst things that you can do for yourself.
Is that a fact?
Yep, it's a fact.
Well.
So yeah, no numb-assitis for me.
So does that mean
I try to even if I'm going to be sitting all day, I usually get up and stand and shake it around.
Does that mean that I need to spend the rest of my time on my feet?
Yep, exactly. You know, you walk like 5 miles a day. I'm pretty sure you're going to be all right.
I would certainly hope so. Hey, listen.
I would hope so.
Did you happen to see in the news today? They've got a brand new experiment going on, and it's with babies, with young babies that have contracted cancer, both male and female. And what they're doing is they're extracting, what's the word I want to use, non-developed ovaries and non-developed testes, and then they're doing the cancer treatments, and then they're putting these back into these babies in the hopes that what will happen is because if they had the cancer treatment, they would render them sterile. But then if they do it this way, they're hoping that what will wind up happening is that they'll be able to have babies later on in life. Had you read that?
No, but that's just everything about what you just said is just horrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I mean, first of all, babies getting cancer. Let's just start with that. I mean, that's just crazy. But wow, treating these babies, and I didn't even think about that aspect, but that's true. It's a very good chance of making them sterile, and wow, that's just, and they're doing this in hopes that can restore their fertility. Man, that's just a sad statement. It's terrible to think that we've gotten to the point that we have to take part of the testicles and the ovaries of babies so that we can treat them for cancer.
That's not so that we can treat them. That's not so that we can treat them. That's so that hopefully they'll
So
be able to preserve
that we
their
can treat them
ability.
and then make them sterile and then restore their fertility.
Yeah.
Is the whole point of taking that out, is so that we can restore their fertility after we treat them. But yeah, but wow, that's just, in my wildest dreams, I would have never dreamt that up.
Okay,
you know,
so
I mean,
so here's
it's what a scenario.
So here's the thing. The devastating part of this is that those young children have contracted cancer to begin with. And if the only thing you can provide them with later in life is the ability of joy at having their own family, then maybe that's not so bad.
I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world that can happen to you. If it's you're going to die or you're going to be able to grow up and be healthy, but just going to have kids, that's not the worst thing in the world. There's adoption. There's lots of people who don't go through cancer who can't have kids. So infertility is unfortunately, it's far more common now than it used to be. It's certainly not the worst thing. I know for a lot of people it can be very crushing, but it is certainly not the worst thing that could happen. But just the thought of having to take a baby and put them through chemo.
Yeah, it's excruciating. Yeah, it's excruciating. I said a long time ago that if I'd have realized how much fun grandchildren were going to be, I'd have skipped kids altogether, just went straight to grandchildren.
Yeah, no kidding. It's nice when you can give them back, right? Spoil them and go, this is yours. It's dying. I don't know what to do with it. I forgot. Yeah, that would be nice. It's so funny. I was, and I don't know if I told you this before or not, but I was walking through the store, through Target actually not too long ago. Oh man, we got to talk about the Target thing, but we'll come back to that. So I'm walking through Target and I see these that movie Cars, the animated Cars movie, and they had they were kind of like a plastic, kind of almost like a dog squeaky toy, but they weren't really squeaky toys for dogs. But they were these cool looking cartoon, plastic cars, and they were really kind of neat. And I was walking through and I said, oh man, I said, oh, those are so cool. I said, I gotta have some grandkids someday so I can start playing with stuff like that again. And then I stopped and looked at my buddy. I said, dude, if I ever say anything about needing grandchildren again, I said, just kick me. It's like,
you know
I'm
what?
not sure where that even came
I want to ask you about something else because this is, and this is something I don't want to get too specific here, but I know of a 7-year-old boy who is, he is just really built. He's a little guy, but he's carrying a six-pack, and he loves to dance, and he loves gymnastics, and he does gymnastics for 3.5 hours twice a week at a gymnastics school, and there was a part of me that was questioning whether that could be harmful to a little 7-year-old guy.
I'm sure it's overtraining is harmful for anybody. I don't know if the kids can take, when you think about it, it depends on how stressful the training is. I don't know what kind of exercises his coach does for him, but kids are pretty resilient. They recover pretty quickly, and their body's constantly growing and developing, and so their bodies in the mode
kids are.
of
I agree with you. Kids are very resilient, and I suppose you hear all the time that young kids that get into the Olympics and become gold medalists or medalists at all are the ones that started when they were 3, 4, 5 years old. I guess that's what you kind of hear.
Yeah, and they do have to start young. I mean, look at any of the gold medalists in the Olympics. They're usually middle-aged mid-teens. They're not even 19 or 20. They're like 14 or 15, and they're these young girls, young guys, maybe 16, 17 years old. And yeah, you're right. They've been doing it for over a decade, and they're not even old enough to vote yet. And so the problem, though, the downside is I've noticed, because a lot of parents will push kids to start younger, I've seen a lot of young people with knee surgeries and shoulder surgeries, and it does wear the body out. Anytime you've pushed yourself past a certain limit, you're going to put wear and tear on the body. And doing this, if this kid is competing at a very high, intense level, it most likely will have some long-term effects. The one thing is to avoid injuries.
Well, I remember my brother-in-law, who was a very astute football player in college, and because of all the banging around and all the stuff that was going on, had horrible arthritis later on in his life and difficulties, right? Now, I too have arthritis problems, but it's not because of my sports acumen. It's because I hit a mountain at 55 miles an hour and broke 128 bones. But
that'll do it.
But you know what? I think compared to him, I feel pretty doggone good. As a matter of fact, like you said, I can still walk 5 miles a day, and I don't think he can.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I've had people in their 20s come to me, and they're just, they can hardly function. In fact, you know what? Did I ever tell you the story about I had a patient? She was awesome. Her name was Jody, and she was. And this kind of goes along with one of the topics I wanted to touch on today. So I want to tell this story. This is kind of neat, since we got all this time right now. So Jody came to our office, and she had 2 bulging discs and 1 ruptured disc, and she has a 2.5-year-old at the time. She was about 25 years old, maybe 26 or something like that. She'd always been athletic, volleyball, basketball, all kinds. She was about my height. She's almost like 5'10", 5'11", somewhere around there. And but she couldn't hardly walk. I mean, she had days where it was hard to get out of bed, and she couldn't really function very well. And she had a medical doctor that told her that with the right therapies and the right medications and anti-inflammatories, that we can finally eventually get you to the point where you can function throughout the day and you can walk and you can, go about your normal day-to-day business without any real pain or discomfort. But you'll never be an athlete again. You'll never be able to do anything really physically overly strenuous ever again for the rest of your life. And this is at 25 or 26, whatever she was, something like that. Oh, and she had another chiropractor that had told her that she needed to have stay in bed rest for 3 months minimum, or she was going to do such permanent damage to her back that she would never recover, and she would create permanent back damage.
Okay, so I want you to hold that thought, because it sounds to me like that's the good cliffhanger to hold on while we go to a commercial break. When you come back, you'll tell the rest of that story, right?
I will, because it's a happy ending story, so absolutely, you bet.
All right, we're talking to my good buddy Sean LaFave in the BS corner, I guess we'll call it. We're just going to talk about anything and everything. And after this story, I got something that I want to approach you with. So we'll be right back after these brief messages with Sean LaFave. Don't go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, General Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And we're talking to my good buddy, Sean Lefebvre, who left us with this heart-wrenching story about this patient that was in his office that was never going to be able to participate in sports again. Sean, go ahead and tell that story.
All right. So
I thought I lost you.
I almost forgot to unmute myself. So she, like you said, you kind of broke it down. So she comes to us. She's, I think it was her mom told her, says, hey, you need to go to this office. And I was working with a chiropractor in that office, and I did a lot of the therapies and working with the education side of, teaching people how the chiropractic works and how we integrate that with nutrition and all these things. And there was a very, very, very successful office. It was awesome. And some of the miracles almost that we had were incredible. But so she comes to us, and she was very skeptical, and I don't blame her. She was already told by two other doctors that with doom and gloom and walking around in pain all day, and so we broke it down and kind of went over X-rays with her and said, here's what the problem is, here's how we can fix this. It's non-invasive, it doesn't require any surgery or drugs or anything, but here's why these discs are being pushed out and bulging and why this one is ruptured and how we can repair all that tissue and get everything back in alignment. And so she went into the kind of like exam / follow-up room, whatever you want to call it, with the doctor, right? So she's in there, and I'm it's like the end of the day. There's nobody else left, and I'm standing out in the main part of the office, and I can see through the door that they're having a conversation. And I can't hear it, but I can. How you can tell by body language what kind of conversation, whether it's fun or it's serious or whatever. And I could tell that it was a very cerebral conversation.
Yeah, not a good news meeting.
Yeah. So it was very technical, though. It was like, Jody would ask a question, the doctor would reply with a very technical answer, another cerebral or technical question with another cerebral or technical answer. And this went on for like 15 to 20 minutes. And I thought, okay, this is taking way too long. For whatever reason, we're going down the wrong path. So I walk in the room. I didn't walk in the room. I actually leaned up against the door jamb, and I'm listening to the conversation and confirm, yep, this is a very cerebral argument, or not argument, but discussion, about the technicalities of how do we fix this, which we should have been past that point. And so finally, I said, hey, and she was sitting there with her husband, and I said, Jody, what do you want? And she goes, what? I said, what do you want from us? Why are you here in this office? And she goes, well, I want to fix my back. I said, no, you don't. I said, what do you want? And she goes, I don't understand the question. I said, Jody, nobody ever walks in because they go, oh, my goal in life is to get my back fixed. I go, everybody has something that they want. Fixing your back is just a segue to that. I said, do you want to play volleyball again? Do you want to play basketball? Do you want to play with your toddler? I go, do you want to go run a marathon? I go, Jody, what do you really want? And she said, oh, my God, I've always wanted to run a marathon, but I didn't think I could anymore. And I said, Jody, why don't you do this? I said, you're asking a lot of technical questions that you really don't need the answers to. It's kind of nice information to know, but it's not really important that you understand how we do the technical part of this. I said, why don't you let Dr. Georgia do her part, and I'll do my part, and what you can do is go out and run a marathon. How's that sound? And she looked at me, with this like surprise look. She goes, I can do that? And I said, yeah, Jody, you can do that. I said, if you let us do our part and you do the things that we teach you, I said, I promise you that if you want to go run a marathon, you can go run a marathon. Now, my doctor that I work with will always go afterwards. She's like, Sean, you can't promise people stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I can, because I believe that we can fix this. So she said, okay, well, let's get it done. It was like she lit up like, oh, my gosh, like someone finally told me that I'm going to have my life back, that this was possible, right? So she became a patient in our office, and we started working on her. And I think it was like a few weeks afterwards, she came in and she says, hey, Sean, guess what I did yesterday? I said, what'd you do? She said, I ran. I was like, awesome. She goes, well, I only ran for a minute. I'm like, hey. I go, how much did you run before you ever came in our office? None, right? I said, so that's awesome, a minute. And then the next time it was like 2 minutes and then 5 minutes, and there was a little bit of running, a little bit of walking. And anyway, long story short, 9 months after we started treating her, she went out. We were living in Wichita at the time. That was where the office was. She flew out to San Francisco and ran the Nike's all-women's marathon.
That is fantastic. You know what? I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you for a second and see if you agree with me. I have a segment. One of the segments that I do here on the show every day is called the secret teaching for your life, and I tell everybody that the real secret isn't really such a secret. It's all about a positive mental attitude, and you can accomplish anything you want to accomplish in your life if you always maintain a positive mental attitude in a positive way. It's not positive that light at the end of the tunnel is an oncoming train. It's positive that light at the end of the tunnel is your way out. It's positive that you can run that marathon. It's positive that you can recover from what you're doing, and you've got to believe it before it'll ever happen.
And that's exactly why she got better. I think that there are so many people who they've lost hope or they've lost faith, and you can give them. I can do the exact same thing for someone else that I did for her, and they won't get better. And I believe firmly in the power of a positive mindset and the belief. It's like that, that saying, you got to have faith like a child. And I believe that faith like a child, when they talk about that, is because children don't walk around with the baggage that the rest of us walk around. When children came in our office and we would work on them, the children respond so quick to natural health remedies. And I believe the reason why is if you look at an 11-year-old and you say, hey, you know what? I see all this stuff's going on, and I know there's no fun, but here's what we're going to do, and when we're done, we're going to fix you, and we're going to make you all better. And they just go, oh, okay. They just believe you. They don't say, well, the oncologist said this, and the endocrinologist said this, and my primary care physician said that, and this is what the other doctor said. They don't have all that baggage. They just go, oh, well, you're going to fix me, okay, cool, and they just believe that you're going to fix them. They don't think that you're lying to them. They don't think you're trying to steal their money because it's not theirs, their parents. But still, they don't see any ulterior motives. They just see that this person is going to fix me, and I believe that with that story with Jody, is she got that. So when I said it to her, you literally could see the change in her facial expression. Like she looked like a little girl at Christmas time, like, oh my gosh, this could really possibly happen. Yeah, this could happen.
I got to tell you, unfortunately, in my life, I have had a lot of challenges. And whenever I was confronted with a physician, the thing is that no matter how bad I was hurt, I was convinced that the physician could fix it. I was convinced that whoever I went to could fix it. I never doubted their ability to fix it, so I never doubted the fact that I was going to get fixed, and it always worked out that way.
Yeah, and that's that's exactly 90% of the battle is you just have to believe that it's going to work. Now, you can't be blind and stupid about it, but if what you're looking at makes sense, you go, okay, cool, this is going to work.
You know what? Sometimes getting fixed hurts. It just
it does.
It's interesting. I got into a very, very serious accident back in 1984, and I didn't know that for the first 9 days they didn't even know if I was going to survive or not. And I remember coming down. I remember I could actually see them turning the operating lights off because they couldn't put me out too far. And I'd just been in about a 5-hour surgery, and coming down in the elevator, I was afraid to ask if I was going to live or die. Right, so. What I did was I said, hey, look, when do you suppose I'll be able to go home? And this guy that was behind me says, oh, we'll have you home by your birthday. Well, this was mid-April. My birthday was May 25th. I thought, hell, 30 days? I can do anything for 30 days. I never did give it a thought that the guy behind me had no clue when my birthday was.
Oh, how funny. Yeah, that's you help by your birthday. I didn't say which birthday, you're just one of them.
It's all about a positive mental attitude. You got to be that way, whether it's physically or whether it's in business, whether it's in science, no matter what it is. You have got to have a positive mental attitude, and I believe that there's a lot of strength that your brain and your body creates with that positiveness that goes on. I firmly believe that.
Yep, I do too. And kind of with that story that, like I was saying, there was part of there's and I think I've talked about this on your show before, but there's a book out there. It's called How Doctors Think. It's by Jerome Groopman, and he's a medical doctor. And basically, in a nutshell, what he kind of, the point I think he's trying to make with this book is, if you can understand how your doctor thinks, it'll help you understand how your treatments go. And he talks a lot about, and I thought this was really, because I never really thought about it before. He talks about, obviously everyone talks about the doctor's bedside manner, but no one talks about the patient's manners, And so what he's saying is, if as a doctor, you're dealing with a patient who's just a pain in the ass, then really, and that's not the words he used, but that's my interpretation, that really what you want to do is just get them out the door as fast as possible. Doctors are just like anybody else. They don't want to deal with someone who's just a grumpy person and who's, constantly, throwing up objections or constantly second guessing or doubting them or, just being rude or disrespectful. But all they want to do is just give you a diagnosis and a bottle of pills and send you out the door.
Yeah.
They just want to be at least somewhat accurate. And I thought, that's a huge thing. And the reason why this really came to mind is I actually had a client that I was working with here recently that I actually fired him this weekend. And because he was one of these people that constantly threw up objections. He wanted to go down one path and then go down a different path, and then let's try this instead. And and not even like a different path of like a different remedy. I'm talking like a different objective. Well, first I want this. Well, no, this is actually really this is my reason for wanting to. And then it would change, and then he would, he was one of these people that refers to medical doctors as real doctors, and then the other doctors that are just like, whatever. And
I take offense to that. I remember when I was in practice, basically people would come into my office and they'd be crying the blues, and they'd really need some serious help, and that was because they were in trouble with either the federal government or the state or somebody. And then they would proceed to tell me how to help them, and I'd look them right in the eye and I'd say, hey, look, don't come in here and tell me how to help you. You wouldn't be here if you didn't need somebody that knows more than you do. Now, if you think you know how to help yourself, then get out of my office, because I'm not going to do what you're telling me to do. I'm going to do what I know has to be done.
And that's exactly what happened with this guy. Is I finally went, you know what? I said, you need to get your ass off of Google, stop over-analyzing everything, and let your doctors or me or somebody, because he's going to like one person and then another, and he's like, and then another, and it's like, you know what, I can't, if all you're doing is just not knowing what your objective is, and you're doubting everything that's happening, and then you do research and you find out that someone didn't like the type of system that I use, and on and on. And of course, there's people who don't like anything. It doesn't matter what you do. I can find negative stuff about anything in this world. And I finally went, you know what? I said, I can no longer offer you my services because your attitude is too negative, and I will never be able to help you get over your health conditions that you've got right now.
I remember hearing the story about, and I forget if it was a heart surgeon or a neurosurgeon, a brain surgeon, and this guy was just complaining about his physician, saying, oh, you know what, he thinks he's God. He just thinks he's God. And the answer to the question was, when he's holding your brain in his hands or he's holding your heart in your hands, do you really want him to think he's a plumber?
Yeah. Someone's got to me, that is God at the moment, because he's got your life in his hands right there. Yeah.
So I just, it's all about a positive mental attitude. And you know what? You can actually make that professional perform better if you're supportive of that professional at the same time. You wouldn't be there if you didn't need help.
Yeah, and that was exactly the point. And that's the point that Dr. Groopman makes in this book, and kind of where I was going with this too, is if the person you're working with, if you would just go, you know what, you're appreciative, you support them, and you go, I'm excited about this, and I'm grateful, they will give you 10 times more than you could ever hope for, as opposed to someone who just goes, well, I don't know if this is going to work, or, I Googled this, and this is what I think you should really do. That's the kiss of death when it comes to, working with somebody. Like, okay, if you're going to Google yourself.
With that, Sean, we're going to leave that right there, because believe it or not, we have gone over our half-hour allotment for this segment.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we're going to be with Sean LaFave in his Geared for Wellness Corner. Don't go away. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now from Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:08 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 88 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's going on its way down to 61 degrees. But you know what? He's waiting in the wings. He's been performing quite well with a positive mental attitude. But now we're going to bring him in as somebody different. Let's introduce him the way he's supposed to be introduced.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean LaFave, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
Young man, it's like you haven't been here for the last half hour, or you got another half hour to go. I don't know if you finished your last story or you didn't finish your last story, but you know what? What do you want to talk about now?
Well, what it feels like is that last half hour was about 5 minutes, but no, last night we're done. I think it was just the point was, you know what? If you just understand that when someone's trying to take care of you, having that great attitude, it makes all the difference in the care you receive and how well you recover from whatever it is you're being treated for. So, yeah, I think we drove that point home, and so we can move on. But speaking of, and get off Google, people. I mean, you're going to your doctor. If you're going to Google, that's great, but don't tell your doctor what's wrong with you because you found it on Google, and definitely don't tell them because you found it on Google. Good God. Google, I swear, that stuff drives me crazy. But so speaking of Google and self-diagnosis, I needed to tell you about my new medical condition.
Oh, you know what? We went right by that thing. How the heck did we manage that? Are you going to survive this, by the way?
I'm not sure. I don't even know if there's a cure for it, to be honest with you. But it's an actual, real medical condition.
Is it called happiness?
And it's called orthorexia nervosa. And you're probably going, what? Well, that actually sounds like something serious. And apparently it's serious enough that the medical community has given it a name. And I'm sure there must be a treatment plan. I would imagine eventually there's probably going to be a drug for it. But orthorexia nervosa is the obsession with eating foods that people consider healthy. Or it's another definition. It's a medical condition in which the sufferer, you actually suffer from this condition, in which the sufferer systematically avoids specific foods in the belief that they're harmful. So the fact that I want to eat organic foods, whole foods, and I don't want to eat stuff like artificial sweeteners or hydrogenated oils or, whatever chemicals or food coloring, the fact that there are people out there like me who want to avoid that stuff, they had to actually give it and GMOs. Oh, God forbid I don't want to eat GMOs. So they've given it a name. It's orthorexia nervosa. Those are people who want to eat healthy food and stay away from foods that are unhealthy for them.
Well, we both have a dietary problem because I have porcheriasis. I don't give a damn about what I eat at all, as long as it tastes really great.
Well, yeah, I think at least you don't suffer from this disease, and that's great. I apparently do. The fact that, the way I look at it, though, it's all these things that are going down, like the stuff that just got passed to the Senate and the representatives.
Oh, thank God!
And all
I thought you were going to say your colon.
That says we can't label GMOs. Monsanto's paying off every politician in the country, and now all of a sudden they're saying, well, if you don't want to eat GMOs, if you want to eat organic food, you probably suffer from orthorexia nervosa. So imagine when this goes to court, you can actually have a medical professional stand up and go, well, Judge, this person suffers from a known medical condition called orthorexia nervosa, and really we've not found a treatment for it yet. And so
caused by Monsanto.
Yeah. So, this has got to be a Monsanto-driven medical condition. Speaking of, did you hear that one of my favorite countries in the whole world, and definitely by far my favorite one where I actually know how to speak the language for the most part, is Scotland? They have made it completely illegal to grow GMOs in the country of Scotland, or they're passing legislation right now to make it happen.
You know how to speak the language. I thought they spoke English in Scotland.
Oh, they speak gibberish. And you go up north, and I'm sorry. That was like a sentence in Scotland. That's pretty much how they talk. I remember.
The only Scottish guy that I really, really am a big fan of. His big thing was, my name is Bond, James Bond. It was Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
Yeah,
he's Scottish. He was a well-spoken Scotsman.
Yes, he's a well-spoken Scotsman.
But I actually was in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Yeah, why do they call it? But you know what? Why do they call it Edinburgh when it's spelled Edinburgh?
Yeah, at least it's better. At least they speak English better than people from Boston. I'll say that much. But like Worcestershire out there, they just say Worcester. Like, you get rid of four. At least like half the letters. Don't even use them. But I was walking around Edinburgh, and there was a guy peddling his little wares or whatever, and he had a sign up that said, "English spoken here, American understood," which I thought was cute. But no, Scotland's a beautiful country. I've been there, and I absolutely love it. And
I have too. It's a wonderful country. Matter of fact, I would venture to say, I mean, I love England too, and I've taken I've taken the train from Edinburgh to London, which is a beautiful, beautiful train ride if you've never done it. And but because you see all this beautiful countryside, but Scotland, the people there, they treat you as though they've known you all your life.
Yep, that's exactly the difference. In England, they're much, much more standoffish. But in Scotland, the people, everyone that we met there was friendly and warm and kind and open. And I love the people of Scotland. It's just a wonderful, wonderful
talking about the personalities of people, I've got to tell you this story real quick. It's real short. When I was growing up, in my career, and I first started working for the Revlon Corporation. It was my very, very first trip to New York City, and I was coming down in the elevator in the morning, and the elevator stops, and the doors open, and another gentleman comes in, and I look at him and I say, "Good morning, sir," and he looks me right in the eye and he says, "Do I know you?" Those are the long time ago days of New York City, but people weren't accustomed to anybody saying good morning or even talking to you if they didn't know you.
I lived in Boston, or just actually right outside of Boston, for almost 3 years, and I couldn't stand it. I'm a West Coast boy, and I loved New York, loved visiting there, but I lived in Boston, and I just couldn't stand it for the most part. It's got some really pretty areas, but just the culture there, everything about it's just not West Coast, and so it was hard to adjust to. But 2 separate occasions, 2 separate guys, and I'm one of these guys that I'll just strike up a conversation with anybody. So one was at a coffee shop. I can't remember where the other one was, but both of these guys were from New York City. We were in Boston, and both said to me almost exactly the same thing. They said, "You know what? People from Boston are really rude." And I was like, "You're from New York City, and you're saying that they're rude." I was like, "Wow, that's a pretty big slam right there." But, I found the people in New York to actually be a lot more open than the people in Boston, for sure.
Well, it's actually true, and I find it so interesting when you think about the different personalities of people around our country and the lines of demarcation. When you talk about the North and the South and the West and the East. And the differences in those people, it's just really astounding because there are marked differences.
I have a theory on that, and I've never researched this or thought if anyone else has a theory, but it's similar. But I don't know why because I've traveled. I've been to all but 2 states in this country, and I love traveling, and I love going and seeing new places and meeting new people, and I did notice the same thing. Every part of this country has a different type of mentality, a different way of life, a different culture. And, you think, it's the United States, it would be that much different. But here's the theory that I came up with. And I don't know how to apply it to things like the South. The South is a bit different. But you take the East Coast, right? And our country started in the Northeast, started on the East Coast. And then we gradually migrated our way across to the West Coast. And this is my philosophy. The people who were afraid to leave, I guess, I don't know, for a lack of a better way of saying it, just never left. And those are the people, if you look at the East Coast, especially in New England, they don't really like going very far away. If their children are going to move more than 5 miles away, they lose their mind like they're never going to see them again, And then you go a little bit further and you get to the Midwest, and those are the people that went, you know what, this isn't so bad, and I'm kind of like tired of traveling, and you know what, let's just settle down here. We have enough land, and they were kind of like they were at least a little adventurous, but not totally. And so they're kind of warm people. They just kind of want to live life, and they got out of the rat race, and so they're going, this is good enough. It's flat, but hey, I'll take it. We are coming to the commercial break. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you my philosophy on the second 2 stages of people traveling out west.
And we'll be right back with our own Sean LaFave in the second stages of people out west. As a matter of fact, we may even get off the Geared for Wellness Corner and just talk about some of these observations right after these brief messages. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The interview starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, General Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And then we're talking to our own Sean LaFave. And you know what? We've been calling it the Geared for Wellness Corner. I have to explain what was going on today because Sean's been with us for an hour. Suzette Mailer, who is normally here with her IFAB Travel Corner, is on vacation with her husband, Ray Mailer, who generally is on our show on Thursdays at 4:30. So they're both gone, and Sean has been kind enough to fill in for both of them. And I'll tell you what, Sean will be back with us again tomorrow where we have an encore presentation of a conversation with Bob and Sean. I think that's where we're going to handle this thing tomorrow. What do you think, Sean?
I think that sounds fantastic.
And I do too.
Come on, agree about him.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said, see how agreeable I am? I'm just so easy to get along with. I'm such a great guy.
Yeah, well, you know what? Isn't it amazing how fast an hour can go by?
It's unbelievable. I mean, we're on our 4th segment now, and it seems like we barely started getting going. So let me finish my explanation, so that way we can at least talk about one more thing before we leave.
All right.
So you got all the kind of conservative. I'm out of the rat race. I want to live a quiet, peaceful life. You know, I'll stay here in this great American desert, as they first called it. No, this camp out here. So you got all these farmers now and stuff out there, real conservative people. But then there was the ones that went, you know what? I know we're out of the rat race, but man, this is boring. I want to have some fun. Let's just keep going and see what we can find. And then they get to the eastern slope of the Rockies, you know, and that's when the people went, you know what? That looks like a whole lot of work to get over that big mountain range. And it's kind of pretty right here. We've got trees again, and we've got some water, and you know, I know it's going to snow and everything, but you know what? We can just stay here, and we can party, and we can have a lot of fun. We don't have to, like, you know, worry about what we're going to do to build houses, because now we got trees again, and we can build new cities, and so I think that kind of built the whole western or the eastern slope range. You know, everything from Albuquerque, you know, Pueblo, Colorado Springs, Denver, you know, all the way up to Cheyenne. You know, it's if you talk to the people who live there and the people who want to go there,
not wanting to go over a mountain didn't build Denver. Denver's on a plateau that's 5,000 feet in the air.
Yeah, but it was a gradual slope to get there. It wasn't like you were at 5,000 feet, but you had another 8,000 or 9,000 feet to go to get on the other side of that mountain.
Yeah,
so
that's for sure.
They were like, you know what, we're gonna stay here. We're gonna crash and just like call it good. And so, and that whole area really is a fun area. You know, there's a lot of good times there. You know, there's a lot of outdoor things to do. But then there was the people who were the true adventurers, like the noble, exciting, the ones that says, you know what, we're like a go for everything kind of person. We're going to go over. Like we're going over.
When's the last time you've been to Denver?
I don't know.
Have you been there since this new aroma in the air has been around?
Well, yeah, it's different now than it was. You know, I lived in Colorado Springs. I actually went to college at the University of Colorado.
Oh, well, you went to college there, so you probably dealt with that burnt rope aroma for a long time. That sweet, that sweet smell of marijuana.
Oh, yeah, no, that, yeah. See, I told you those people like to have fun. See, so you just validated. Yeah, that was way after I left. I left there. I graduated college back in '96. So yeah, no, it's.
You're an old son of a gun, huh?
Yeah, I'm getting there, but I got enough gray. But you know, so I really do. If you look at it, that whole area, it's a lot of fun. There's fun things to do. Everybody has a fun time. But I do think that the people who made it to the West Coast just had more of an adventurous side to them. If you look at, you know, all the new, you know, major startups, you know, Uber and Facebook and all these, I don't know if Facebook, I think Facebook, I can't remember, but all this, you know, Silicon Valley, all these new and exciting businesses that are going on, they're all happening out in California and along the West Coast, all this stuff in Seattle and you know, this, like I think that's what created all these different cultures, was people's ability to push on and keep going forward in spite of, you know, having to cross the great American desert anymore and make it up to 5,000 feet, or eventually having to go over this mountain range. I think that the people who stopped along the way created that culture because that was just built into their personality, and they kind of passed that along, and that's where those cultures were developed. I would love to see a whole sociology study on this, because I imagine there's got to be some validation to it, but that's been my philosophy, my viewpoint for quite some time.
I got to tell you, I read a book many years ago by Irving Stone, and I was working for Revlon, and I was in Salt Lake City, and I had to spend the weekend there. And this young man that worked for me, I was telling him, he said, you know, I got a book that you'd love to read. Let me loan it to you. I actually wound up buying a copy myself. I loved it so much. And as I said, the author was Irving Stone, and the name of the book was Men to Match My Mountains. And it talked about the migration from the Midwest to the West. And it's really about Brigham Young and all of that. But it's not dealing with religious issues. But it is talking about Brigham Young and how he got his Mormon settlement in Salt Lake City eventually. Came through San Bernardino, by the way, to do that. And it's just an absolutely fascinating book because it talked about the migration. It talked about all the challenges that were there, all the things that they did, the discovery of gold and silver. It talked about the passes, both passes that they used. Just a magnificent book in challenges and how you overcome those challenges. And it was all about a positive mental attitude. And I would recommend that to all of my listeners, and certainly to you if you haven't read it, Sean. You'd love that book.
Oh, it sounds fascinating. And yeah, what the Brigham Young and the Mormons went through to settle, they were some tough people.
Oh yeah,
I mean, no doubt. I mean, they went through trials and hardships and everything from mountain passages and bad weather. I mean, it's unbelievable what they went through to make their settlement happen.
Yeah, this book deals with Donner's Pass and the Donner Party. And then when Brigham Young was after that, and they knew they had all these challenges. Anyway, I don't want to get into a book review, but basically, I highly recommend that book. If you haven't read it, it's just a magnificent book.
I'm going to check it out.
So listen, let me ask you.
Yep.
What do you think about what's going on with the Iran deal today? Are you for or against it? I'm actually for
it. We talked about this before, and I just don't trust Iran, but I don't trust our own government anymore.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't. Well, boy, you can say that again. Here's the problem that I have. I don't trust Iran. Iran's not our friend. They haven't been our friend. They're never going to be our friend. The one thing that I am pretty certain of is that it's true that they have built these nuclear facilities and the ability to do these things, and they're probably only a couple, 2-3 months away from having a bomb, and that this deal appears to restrain them for at least the next 10 years, and at least during that time, we can identify what they're doing, where they're doing it, what they have, what they don't have, restrain them, and if they renege on the deal, I think this is what Congress ought to do. Congress doesn't like the deal the way it is. What they ought to do is say, you know what, we're going to approve this deal, Mr. President, and we are going to give you the immediate authority to take a dramatic military action against Iran if they break their word.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah. And it's something's got to be. We've got to come to some sort of an agreement. And is this ideal, perfect world stuff? No, but that doesn't exist anyway. So if it in fact will actually work and stop them from having a nuclear bomb for at least 10 or 15 years, that would be fantastic.
Yeah,
because it's scary to think of nuclear weapons in that part of the world.
Well, the problem is it wouldn't just be in that part of the world.
That don't mind dying for their cause.
Yeah. And if they get a nuclear weapon, then the rest of the Middle East is going to want one as well.
Oh yeah.
So I worry. I worry about all of the people, most of the people that you hear, the pundits on television and the rest of this stuff, none of whom were voted for or authorized to negotiate on behalf of the 300 million Americans to try and keep peace and security for us. And all of a sudden they are really don't understand what's there. Now, I'll tell you what, that whole deal is only 159 pages, only about 59 pages of it really have any meat in it. The rest of it is just baloney. But I read all 159 pages, and you know what? Reads to me as though we've done our homework. And did we get everything we could have gotten, or everything that everyone else would like to have had us get? No. Did we get what we went after? Yeah. To have a nuclear proliferation treaty, we got what we went after. We weren't going there after hostages. We weren't going there after trying to make Iran our friends. That wasn't ever going to happen. We went there to stop them from getting nuclear capability. And if we have accomplished that, then, what's the big deal here?
You're right. If we actually have accomplished it, then this is a good thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just hope that Iran is going to uphold their end of the deal. If they don't, then like you said, we should go in with massive military action.
If we
send
don't,
them, if they want nuclear weapons, send one to them.
Yeah, if they lied or they try to pull some kind of shenanigans, then we simply turn the geography of Iran inhabitable for the next 100 years.
Yep, exactly.
We show them what a nuclear, if they want a nuclear bomb, let's give them a couple.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly my philosophy too.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here, we'll show you. Here, you can have one. We'll deliver it personally. Give us an address.
Yeah. From a distance. I'll tell you what, I think that's something that we can deliver on one of our ICBMs, and I'll be willing to push the little red button from here. I'm not interested in
that's exactly
we don't have to have the Enola Gray drop it anymore.
Yeah, it's amazing to think the massive amount of destruction that those 2 bombs that were dropped in Japan did, and they are nothing compared to one single ICBM.
Well, that's right. And, we just celebrated was it the 70th anniversary of the dropping of the atomic bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima?
Yeah, isn't it amazing? It was 70 years ago.
Yeah. And it was so devastating that entire country holds those 2 days in reverence, so that kind of, I was going to say tragedy, but that kind of horrible event never happens again.
Yeah, I would hope so too, but I firmly believe there are people out there like Iran that given the chance to use it, they would.
And they'd use it against us in Israel. We are the 2 countries that they would like to have eradicated from the face of the earth.
Yeah, and Israel's right there. I could see them using it against Israel first. Of course, we wouldn't give them a chance to use it. They would have to use it against Israel and us at the same time.
I think what you'll see is Bibi Netanyahu is going, he's going to let this just go so far. But when his people are really under the pressure and they're really worried and they're scared and it looks like Iran's going to do something, Bibi's going to push the button and you're going to see some dramatic things happen. And if he doesn't, if anybody, and I mean anybody, were to try to attack Israel, we have an inherent responsibility to go to their defense by law.
I agree.
And we're going to be the ones that use all of the power available to us to put an end to it.
I absolutely agree with that. Yep.
All right.
They're our friends. It's amazing.
Okay.
There are people
so I'm done with that.
What
else you want to What else you want to talk about?
I don't know. Oh, here, I'll tell you. I got one more thing.
All right.
So I do my health stuff.
And you got 1 minute to talk about it.
1 minute?
Yep.
Okay. I can do this in a minute. I deal a lot with people who have heavy metals toxicity. It's a big deal. And people always ask me, well, how do I get exposed to this stuff? Where does it come from? Well, guess what? The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, one of their safety crews accidentally just dumped 3 million gallons of wastewater into the Animas River, which runs through, all of a sudden I can't think of the name of the state park, San Juan National Forest. And they said that right now the levels in that lake, the lead levels in that lake have spiked over 3,500 times what it normally is, and it also has arsenic and mercury in there. And this was an accidental spill by the EPA. So when people think about where do the toxins come from that I get in my body, boom, there you go. From the EPA. Thank you very much.
Well, my friend, listen, I want to remind everybody that Sean will be with us again tomorrow. We'll be having, it'll be the Bob and Sean hour, or not hour, it'll be a half hour tomorrow. Sean will be with us at around 4:30. And he and I will continue this friendly conversation with each other. Matter of fact, we're going to have to be delving into the news to see what we have available for us, right?
We will. I'll dig through it. I got 24 hours. So I got 23.
Terrific job, Sean. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, my friend.
All right. See you, Robert.
All right, and we'll be right back with the birthdays for the day, the secret daily teachings for your life, the Harvard Business Tip of the Day, and interesting but useless fact. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:41 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 88 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California, where it's on its way to 61 degrees. But you know what today is, right? It's Tuesday, August the 11th, and it's somebody's birthday. And you know what? This person was born in 1933, passed away in 2007. An evangelical Christian pastor, televangelist, and a conservative commentator. It was happy birthday to Jerry Falwell. And this guy, most of you know him. You may not recognize his name. He was born in 1957. A drummer best known as the drummer for the punk rock group, the Ramones. And happy birthday, Richie Ramone. And Lee Suggs, born in 1980, former football running back in the NFL. He holds the records for most games scoring a touchdown in a single season. Well, what happened today in history? I can tell you that in 1934, the first civilian prisoners arrived at federal prison on Alcatraz Island in California, San Francisco, California. And in 1968, the last steam passenger train service runs in Britain. A selection of British rail steam locomotives make the 120-mile journey from Liverpool to Carlisle and returns to Liverpool before having their fires dropped for the last time. And in 1972, Vietnam War, the last United States ground combat unit, departs South Vietnam. That was under the Nixon administration. And let's talk about the quote for today. It comes from a really great guy, W.C. Fields. And he says, start every day off with a smile and get it over with it. Get it over with. That sounds like W.C. Fields. That's just the way he's going to be. Well, let's talk about the secret daily teachings for your life. And the secret teaching for today, by the way, I mentioned it earlier. I mentioned it while we were talking to Sean. And it's true today just as much as it was every day that I talk about it. And that is that it's all about a positive mental attitude, whether it be your health, your physicians, your cooperation. That's what controls everything. And so let's talk about what today's teaching is. And that is the dictionary defines blessing as invoking divine favor and conferring well-being or prosperity. So begin right now to invoke the power of blessing in your life and bless everything and everyone. Likewise, with praising For when you are praising someone or something, you are giving love, and as you emit that magnificent frequency, it will return to you 100-fold. I'm telling you, guys, this works. I just can't tell you enough. This works. Well, it's time for our Harvard Business Tip of the day, and the management tip today is watch for signs of an emotional outburst. Yeah, people have emotional outbursts every now and then, but if you have a team member who's particularly prone to them, you should anticipate behavior like crying or screaming to prevent these situations from stalling your team's productivity. Watch for the telltale signs that something is causing concern. When you notice someone is withdrawing eye contact or getting red in the face, acknowledge what you see. Just say, "Hey, Steve, you've stopped mid-sentence a couple of times now. What's going on?" Listen carefully to the response, both to what is said and what you can infer from their body language, what you can infer from their body language. Angry, leaning in, clenched jaw, or fists, that all looks very different from discouraged, which is dropping in eye contact or slumping or dismissive, rolling eyes, turning away. Finally, ask questions to get to the root of their emotion. I get the sense you're frustrated. What's behind your frustration? Now, afterward, you should see some sort of relief. It's just the way it works. You got to get to it. You got to stem the tide. That's what it's all about. Well, it's time for our interesting but useless facts. And, I've said it many times. I get to where I'm liking this more and more and more all the time. I don't know about you, but it's working for me anyway. So hopefully it's working for you as well. So let's get right to it. The interesting but useless facts for today. First one up, did you know that bees and dogs can smell fear? There's a fact for you, and it's true. How about this? Coffee, along with beer and peanut butter, is on the national list of the 10 most recognizable odors. Matter of fact, if you've had some brain injuries or stuff like that, one of the things the neurosurgeon is going to do is they're going to take coffee and beer and peanut butter, and they're going to take these things and they're going to pass them under your nose to see if you recognize the smells, because they are the most recognizable odors that we have. How about this? Did you know that chemical indole and skatole, which help to account for the particular smell of human feces, are used as ingredients in perfume? Yeah. Kind of sickens it, doesn't it? How about this? Did you know the average office worker spends 50 minutes a day, almost an hour, looking for lost files and other items? Waste of time, especially now in the computer age when most of this stuff should be readily available to you. Yeah. Did you know that conception occurs more often in December than any other month? There you go. I'm not suggesting that you wait to try until December, but there's the fact anyway. You know the dumbest dog is an Afghan hound? You ever wonder about the people that actually come up with these interesting but useless facts? Maybe they're kind of interesting and useless too. According to an Old English system of time units, a moment is considered to be 1.5 minutes. That's a moment. Not 1 minute, not 2, but 1.5 minutes is a moment. Well, let me leave you with this. The first product Motorola started to develop was a record player for automobiles. Now, at that time, the most known player on the market was Victrola, which Motorola got their name from. Think about it. Now, don't go away, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about your emails. And the first one comes from Keegan Greco from Arlington, Texas. He's asking about what's a full-time student. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with the interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:52 p.m. Pacific time. It's still 88 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, you know what? It's time for me to answer your emails. We're coming down to the wire here on the show. I want to remind you that this is an entertainment part of the show. And you know what? I answer your questions as best and thoroughly as I can, but a lot of times your emails, some of the information, some of the facts are a little sketchy, but I still do the best that I can with them. But we always, always, always encourage you to seek the advice of a licensed professional. They're always going to save you more money than they cost you, and they're going to give you some peace of mind. You know, one of the requirements of them getting their license is that they have errors and omissions insurance, which means that if they give you bad advice and they're wrong, you don't pay the piper, they do. Doesn't that help you sleep at night? Nobody's going to knock on your door or tap you on the shoulder or send you a certified letter or phone you. Even if they do, they pay the piper, not you. So let's get right to it. First email, as I mentioned before, is from Keegan Greco from Arlington, Texas, asking about being a full-time student. It says, how many months must a student attend school during the year to be a full-time student? Now, my daughter graduates from college in May, after going to school for less than half the year. Will that make her a full-time student so that I can claim her as a dependent? Well, Kagan, for a child to qualify as a dependent, the IRS says that he or she must be under the age of 19 at the end of the tax year or under the age of 24 if a full-time student for at least 5 months of the year. Now, her going to school for the 5 months through May will be sufficient to provide you with a dependency exemption for her if she is under the age of 24. So hopefully that'll help you. Next email comes from Samuel Griffin from Colorado Springs, Colorado, asking about convertible bonds and says, I'm considering investing in convertible bonds, but if I convert them to stock shares in the future, what will the tax consequences be? Will there be a taxable gain on the exchange or only when the shares are actually later sold? Well, Sam, the convertible bond is one that gives its owner the option to exchange it for a specified number of shares of stock in the company that issued the bond. Now, usually, a bond owner will choose to make such an exchange only if the company's share price rises to the point where the shares received in the exchange have a value greater than that of the bond, so the swap actually produces a gain. But even so, no currently taxable gain or loss results from such an exchange. Taxable gain or loss is deferred until the acquired stock shares are subsequently disposed of. Now, the basis in the stock will be what you actually paid for the bonds, and hopefully that'll help you. Now, next email comes from Tony Guerrera from Los Angeles, California, asking about mortgage interest and says, is mortgage interest deductible under alternative minimum tax? It's AMT rules. Well, are long-term capital gains taxed under the AMT? Good question, Tony. Interest paid on a loan used to acquire or improve a home is deductible under the AMT rules, but interest on home equity borrowing used for other purposes like a vacation are not deductible under the AMT. Now, long-term capital gains are taxed at the same rate under AMT as under normal rules, but capital gains may push total taxable income up beyond that AMT exempt amount, the $58,000 on joint returns and $40,750 on a single returns. And for this year, the figures haven't been figured out yet. But it also may increase state income taxes, which are not deductible under AMT and may create an AMT liability for you. So capital gains may indirectly create or increase AMT liability. So hopefully that answers your question. But again, always, as I said, talk to that licensed professional. You'll be glad you did. I promise you. My last email comes from Xavier Henderson from Mesa, Arizona, asking, is a lottery winner, says, if I win a lottery that pays $50 million over 20 years, then die after 2 years, is the remaining part of the $50 million subject to estate tax? And how would my estate pay all that tax when the payments will only come in over the remaining 18 years? Well, good question, Xavier. You may or may not like the answer. The current value of all the future payments is subject to estate tax when you die. And finding the money to pay the tax can be a problem when most of the payments won't actually arrive until well into the future. The simplest solution is to buy a life insurance policy that'll cover the tax if you can, or make an arrangement with the IRS, which is unlikely, I got to tell you. Now, your best bet is elect a cash payment instead. Consult now with a with an insurance or tax and financial expert and a licensed one who can plan out the best strategy for you. You'll be glad you did that, I promise you. Now, I want to thank you for listening to Robert Cardoza Live at the intersection of business and politics. Robert Cardoza Live broadcasts on Spreaker Radio, 405 Media Radio, Roar 1776 Radio, Live 365 Radio, MyCast Live Radio, and countless terrestrial stations worldwide every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and YouTube, where you can listen to all of my shows 24/7. Go to my website at www.robertcardozalive.com and email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. It's where I get all the emails I deal with here on the show. On my next show, my expert contributor is going to be Sean LaFave. He's going to be talking to me about current events again. And my special guest is Joel Saltzman, Dr. Wireless, and he's talking about new wireless technology that's in the news. I encourage you to tell all of your friends about my show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then, when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed today's show as much as I enjoyed producing it for you. Don't forget to join me again tomorrow for another installment of Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. In the meantime, stay happy, stay healthy, be good, and stay safe. Good night, everybody.